I walked up to the auctioneer, a tall man with a bushy mustache named Zeke, who dealt in everything from horses to human lives in Silver Ridge. "How much?" I asked, my voice low and rough from disuse. Zeke raised an eyebrow, smirking. "Well, Jack Harlan, the lone wolf. Want the Apache devil? $50, but I warn you, she's bad luck. No bill of sale, just the chains." I didn't haggle, though the price was steep. I pulled the money from my coat, hard-earned silver from last month's cattle sale, and handed it over. Zeke snorted, unlocking the cuffs. She didn't rub her wrists or whimper, just stood still. Waiting, she followed me away from the crowd, her steps light but resolute. She knew staying meant a slow death at worse hands. Tom Jenkins hollered after us, "Good luck, Jack. Hope she doesn't slit your throat by morning." I ignored him, leading her to my wagon. I didn't touch her, didn't give orders. I wasn't her master, just her rescuer. She climbed aboard herself, sitting ramrod straight, hands clutching the torn edges of her dress, eyes fixed on the horizon. A biting wind swept in from the desert, making me shiver. I shrugged off my heavy leather coat, the one Sarah had sewn for me, and held it out to her. She studied me a moment, hesitant, then took it, draping it around herself like a makeshift shield. "No thanks," but her eyes softened just a fraction, or was I imagining it? We left Silver Ridge to the fading sound of mocking laughter, no one stepping in. The road back to the ranch stretched long and dusty, wheels kicking up red clouds, my mind a whirl of questions. Why'd I do this? I didn't buy her to own her, but because I saw myself in her, a shattered soul needing to heal. Sarah used to say, love was connection, not possession. Could I find that again? I glanced at her wrists, the raw, angry marks making my chest tighten. She hid her pain behind a mask of stone, but I knew I'd done the same, locking away my heart to survive the war's brutal hunts. She gazed at the distant horizon, her face blank, but I sensed the fear and loss she buried. Her name, I'd learn later, was Nayeli, an Apache warrior caught in a bloody army raid. Dragged across the desert, her family gone, mocked for her silence. She held her pride like a flame, refusing to bend under cruelty. Her goal was to survive without losing her soul. Despite a world steeped in prejudice, the ranch came into view under the twilight glow, sagging fences, parched earth, a creek barely trickling. I stopped the wagon, climbing down first, letting her choose her moment. She stepped onto the ground, a flash of pain crossing her eyes as sharp stones bit her bare feet. But she hid it fast, standing tall like a desert pine. I opened the door to my wooden cabin, the home I'd built with Sarand, let her enter first, respecting her need to scan the unfamiliar space. Inside was simple, a rusty stove, a rough-hewn table I'd made myself, and 2 beds, one big for me, one smaller from when Sarah was too weak to climb into ours. I pointed to the small one. Yours, if you want it. No rules, no restrictions. Freedom starts with respect. Nayeli took in the room, her eyes lingering on Sarah's traces. A wooden comb, a scrap of embroidered cloth. Old pain stirred in me, but her presence eased the cabin's heaviness somehow. I cooked a stew of beef and root vegetables, the scent filling the air, and set a bowl near her bed, letting her choose where to eat. We ate in heavy silence, but slowly her presence brought a strange warmth. I stole a glance at her, my heart beating faster. Was this the start of something? A journey of healing, where we'd lift each other up, defying prejudice to find love and meaning in this harsh world. Night fell, and the wind howled outside. But deep down, I knew the real dangers were just beginning. Those road agents were only a warning, and Nayeli, she might just be the key to my rebirth from loss. For now, in this quiet, my heart cracked open just a sliver. I can still recall that moment etched into my flesh like a brand. The sun was sinking behind the red rock hills of Silver Ridge, painting the sky in a blaze of fiery orange, and I was urging my old mare along the narrow trail into town. My hands gripped the reins tight, the dry, choking smell of dust mixing with the scent of horse sweat and worn leather. I'm not a man given to daydreams, but that day, my mind wandered to the chores waiting back at the ranch, fixing the barn roof before the autumn storms hit, checking the few head of cattle left after last year's drought. That's my life, Jack Harlan, a string of long, lonely days, fighting the elements to keep my patch of land from crumbling. Then they came. 3 dark figures burst from the scrub brush beside the trail, guns drawn, faces hidden behind filthy red bandanas. "Stop right there, old man. Hand over your money and that horse." The leader snarled, his voice sharp as a rattler's hiss. My heart pounded not from fear. Lord knows I've seen enough death in the border wars to stop trembling but from a surge of raw anger. They were road agents, desert rats who preyed on lone travelers like me. I didn't have much, just enough coin for flour, ammunition, kerosene, rope, and a new saw blade to replace the one worn dull. But they wanted it all. I drew my revolver faster than lightning, the shot echoing through the valley, and the first man fell back, blood spraying from his chest. The second lunged at me, his knife glinting in the fading light. But I dodged, firing point blank, dropping him inches from my face. The third turned to run, but I didn't let him get fair a final shot, and he crumpled face down in the red dust. I stood there, panting, my hand trembling slightly as I wiped the blood splattered on my coat. I'd come within a heartbeat of dying. Life's that fragile. I thought of Sarah, my wife, gone 12 years now from a fever no doctor could tame. She lay in bed, pale as bone, whispering, "You've got to keep living, Jack," before her eyes closed forever. Since then, I'd locked my heart tight, living in harsh isolation, the ranch my only battlefield. But today, brushing so close to death shook me. Was there something more than just surviving? I spurred my horse on toward Silver Ridge, a dusty little town of sagging wooden shacks and a main street choked with dirt. I steer clear of folks when I can people here still whisper about me, about my days as a scout for the army, guiding troops through the desert to hunt down rebel tribes. Those memories haunt me. The crack of gunfire, the acrid smell of gunpowder, the faces of the dead. I didn't want trouble. Just get my supplies and go. But a commotion at the horse market stopped me cold. A rowdy crowd had gathered, shouts mixing with the sharp crack of a whip. I caught words like slave auction and last Apache, not worth a dime. My stomach twisted. I'm no friend to human trafficking, but out here in the Wild West, the law's just a scrap of paper. I slowed my horse, curiosity tangled with disgust. And then I saw her. She was chained tight to a rough wooden post, her wrists raw and bleeding from the iron cuffs. But she stood tall, her eyes defiant, staring down the crowd like a cornered panther. Her deerskin dress was torn savagely, exposing her sun-warmed copper skin, the lean curves of a body hardened by a life of toil. She didn't try to cover herself, holding her pride like a shield. About 25, Her long black hair was a tangled cascade, some strands still braided tight in her tribe's way, a reminder of a lost heritage. The crowd jeered at her. That devil woman won't beg, won't kneel after 4 days in chains. By her, and you're cursed. I overheard a fat man, likely Tom Jenkins, the local saloon keeper who loved to gossip, chuckling to his buddy. She's the last Apache from last month's raid. Lost her whole family, dragged through the desert. Doesn't speak a lick of English, just glares. Bet she'd bite her new master's throat out. They roared with laughter, spitting into the dirt. But she didn't flinch, her gaze cutting through the crowd like a blade. I stepped closer, not sure why my feet moved. Her eyes locked onto mine, not pleading, but sizing me up, gauging if I was a threat. I knew that look instantly. It was mine after the blood-soaked battles, wary, untrusting, ready to fight to the death. My heart stirred, strange and unfamiliar. For years I'd lived alone, nursing the wound of Sarah's death, convinced love was a luxury buried with her. But seeing this woman, a broken soul in a living hell, I saw myself lonely, resilient, and craving a flicker of warmth in this brutal world. I could have turned away, bought my flour and bullets, and ridden home. The ranch was waiting, fences to mend, parched land demanding sweat, a dry creek warning of the coming drought. But my conscience wouldn't let me. I pictured her sold to a cruel mine boss like Bill Harlaneau, kin of mine. Just a bastard from the next townhood, break her body and spirit for sport. No, I couldn't let that happen. A wave of emotion surged, as if Sarah whispered from her grave, "Save her, Jack. That's how you heal."